Oh, why not? Why don't you come and discuss it with me, Padre?
You leave him alone.
Oh, shut up. Well, why don't you come and see me, Padre? I do have to make an application. I'll give you a better time than any of them.
You're not supposed to talk to the chaplain like
I
that.
was only talking to the Padre.
I know what you were doing. And the rest of you, if you're not looking at that box, switch it off.
Oh, Mrs. Humphries.
It's all right, sir. It's nearly time for classes anyway. Now, come on, you heard me. Move yourselves. I should avoid that one if I were you, sir.
No, I could handle it.
It's best not to let the situation arise.
What's the matter, Mr. Prentice?
Nothing, Janet. Just some of the women fooling around.
I think it would be an idea if the officer stayed with you on your rounds, sir.
That's not necessary.
For your own protection.
No, Chief. No. My protection, as you call it, is not very important. Now, getting the women to trust me is difficult enough as it is. If I always had a uniformed officer in the cell with me, it would become impossible.
Well, what's been going on?
One of the women seemed to resent me spending time with Elaine Reynolds.
I thought so. I knew there'd be trouble having someone like that on an open wing.
It's the only chance she's got.
Oh, yes. We mustn't let her think she's being punished. That would never do.
What I'm afraid of is that none of us could punish her as much as she will herself.
Quickly now, girls. As the sewing party dear. Come on, girls, quickly. Watch the steps now and as quickly as you can.
Well, would you like to go to the library? Choose some books?
Keep up now.
Well, I've got a couple of magazines in the office.
No.
Thank you. It's not good for you to sit here alone like this. Tell you what, I'll try and pop back later, eh? She's still just sitting there, madam.
We must get her out of that cell, but of her own choice.
Well, at least she started to talk.
Has Miss Harker given her any work?
No, madam, since she's only going to be with us for such a short time.
I see. Thank you, Miss Barrowan.
So you haven't had to cancel anything?
Only the gardening party. We couldn't allocate any officers to supervise.
Sure you'll be able to cope today?
We staggered the meals slightly so that the different floors will be served one after the other instead of all at once.
Good.
Perhaps you both better get back now.
Right, Chief.
Check on the working parties, first of all, and keep moving. Show yourselves.
I'll see to that, Chief.
Right, now what's next? Welfare. Oh yes, how's old Millie Jones?
Yeah, she's been...
I thought I was dealing with her.
Sorry.
Not very encouraging. She's been drinking heavily again. The Camberwell Hostel don't think they'll be able to keep her. And no one's been able to make any other suggestions.
She asked to see you yesterday, didn't she, Padre?
Yes. Yes, I'm happy to say I managed to get her into one of the church houses in South London. Well, they'll fix her up with some sort of job when she's better and look after her.
You might have let me know she'd been dealt with. I could have wasted valuable time.
Oh, come on, you can't say that, Liz.
Yeah, surely it doesn't matter who does it as long as old Millie's being taken care of.
No, don't let me disturb you.
Well, we're nearly finished anyway. Well, we've all got a lot to cope with today, so I suggest we wrap it up. That is, unless anyone has anything else on North Wing.
Yes, I have. Elaine Reynolds. The doctor's passed her fit for work, so don't you think she should be assigned some?
Well, she's still very distressed. I thought it better to leave her today. And, well, there's the other women.
Oh, surely they're not antagonistic towards her.
Oh, no, not for what she's done. If anything, they think she's clever, nearly getting away with it. But she doesn't respond to them either.
Oh, that's not her fault. She's had a very sheltered background. She's bewildered here.
I don't think she's ever made friends easily.
Well, the other women think she's stuck up, so now they just ignore her. Making her work with them could do more harm than good.
Well, you could help there, Mrs. Armitage. The staff could ease her in, get her into the social life of the wing.
My staff are too busy to devote the kind of time that would be necessary, madam.
Oh, I don't mean today. I mean over the next week or so. That's all the time we have.
I'm sorry, madam, it's too soon. It would be seen for what it was. Overt preferential treatment.
Well, surely you all agree that this girl's got to be helped.
Yes, of course.
That's
it.
Charles.
Well, of course she has. But I agree with Mrs. Armitage, it's too soon.
Why?
Well, this case has caused a lot of publicity. It's had a lot of comment.
It's not going to stop. Those people at the gates with the placards, they're not going to go away while she's here.
On the way in this morning, they kept asking everyone, how does it feel to lock up someone like Elaine Reynolds?
Yes, well, we've all had that, Janet.
Exactly. So if anybody does anything for her or to her, it's bound to get out. In her case, there are extenuating circumstances. But euthanasia is still technically classed as murder, and she has been found guilty. We can't direct our staff to give her preferential treatment. The other women will be bound to resent it. It'd be disastrous for her, and could be seen outside as a criticism of the law of the land.
Peter.
It's a tricky one.
Oh, come on. You agreed what she did couldn't be called murder.
Well, strictly speaking, perhaps not, but... No, I'm not going to express an opinion until I've got the father's full medical history.
Well, you know how her father died.
Oh, yes, I know that. But the point is, he needn't have died when he did. He could have gone on living. He could have lived for, well, perhaps another 3 or 4 months.
Lived in perpetual agony, only kept down by drugs.
I agree that there are certain cases where euthanasia seems to be the only humane solution. But I'm a doctor. I've sworn to maintain life for as long as possible, irrespective of whether the patient wants to die or not. As far as this case is concerned, I've got no concrete proof that he wanted to die.
Just the opposite.
Mr. Prentice, what do you say?
It's a question in which I can see all sides.
Well, why not tell us simply how you see it?
I don't know that I can. Not simply. Well, she was an intelligent, sensitive girl, very close to her father. She suffered with him until it reached the stage that was no longer endurable. But did that give her the right to take another person's life?
Do you think it did?
No one has that right. The strongest commandment is thou shalt not kill.
All you ever do is hide behind platitudes. You never offer any answers.
Miss Clark.
No, Governor, she's quite correct. Only I don't think my function is to provide pat answers, but to lead people to find their own. And again, the viewpoint of my calling is so different from your humanist approach and the structure in which we both have to work here, that I have to conceal my own thoughts and beliefs behind platitudes to be able to work here at all.
Well, if nothing else, this may have cleared the air.
Yes.
All right, let's not be too obvious about it, but we must find a way through to Elaine Reynolds to prevent her from sinking into apathy or despair. Have you any suggestions, Mrs. Armitage? I've often heard you say that you schooled yourself to treat all inmates equally, irrespective of the crimes of which they've been convicted.
I've always tried, madam. But in this case, I cannot and will not do more than I have to in the strict letter of the law.
Very well. That's what I ask all of you, whatever your attitude in this case. That you treat Elaine Reynolds exactly as you would anyone else. That's all, thank you. Miss Clark, would you stay, please? And Charles?
Right.
You make an effort to try and find out as much as you can about this girl as quickly as possible.
Yes, Governor.
Absolute priority.
Yes.
Thank you, Charles. Well, I think you made your position quite clear, and of course, you had every right to do so. I mustn't make this a personal issue. The one I don't understand is Mrs. Armitage.
I think we'd all forgotten just how uncompromising she can be.
I'd hoped we'd both changed. I'm not going to issue any special instructions about this girl. Because if the system I'm trying to get to work here at Stone Park is worth anything, it'll work without them.
Well, I wouldn't stake too much in it, Faye. After all, we're only going to be responsible for her for a very short time.
Yes, but it's how she's treated these first few weeks of her sentence will affect the whole of her time in prison. Probably the rest of her life as well.
Oh, I didn't know you could get room service.
The little princess seems to be off her food.
Hey, miss, leave it over here. I'll have it.
It's not a 5-star hotel. It's part what you think.
Hurry along, keep moving.
Oh, Miss, you'll be rushing us about all day.
It's a new method, June. It's called getting a move on by numbers. On you go now.
Why don't you talk to some of them?
I tried, but
Well,